Vice Chair Omar Khan from the Peel Police Services Board. Welcome. This morning, we will be discussing the results of Project Icarus. This investigation was a complex and multifaceted fraud investigation involving a former Air Canada pilot. In a few moments, we will hear the details of this investigation from the Chair of the Peel Police Services Board, Nando Yanika, Deputy Chief Nick Milinovich, the lead investigator from our Fraud Bureau, Detective Sergeant Chad Mitchell, and we will also hear from the City of Brampton Mayor Patrick Brown. At this time, I would like to invite the Chair, Nando Yanika, to the podium.
Officer, thank you very much and welcome everybody. Good morning. So on behalf of the Peel Police Services Board, I want to thank the members of the Fraud Bureau and those involved in this investigation for their professionalism, diligence, and commitment to the public interest. The allegations announced today are concerning not only because of their scale, but because they touch on something fundamental to a well-functioning society: trust. Everyday members of the public place their trust in institutions, regulatory systems, and professionals whose qualifications and credentials are intended to ensure that safety. Whether in aviation, healthcare, policing, or any other profession entrusted with public confidence, that trust must be earned and protected. The allegations in this case suggest a deliberate effort to circumvent systems designed to safeguard the public. When that occurs, accountability is essential. As a police services board, our role is not to direct investigations or comment on matters before the courts. Our responsibility is to ensure Peel Regional Police has the resources, oversight, and governance necessary to investigate complex allegations of fraud and misconduct wherever they may occur, regardless of the individual involved. This investigation demonstrates the importance of strong partnerships between regulatory bodies, industry stakeholders, and law enforcement agencies. It also serves as a reminder that the public confidence depends on the willingness of institutions to act when concerns arise and the pursuit of truth wherever the evidence leads. I want to thank Transport Canada, Air Canada, and all investigative partners for their cooperation throughout this matter, and most importantly, I want to ensure the public that Peel Regional Police remains committed to protecting our communities, upholding the rule of law, and ensuring that those who seek to undermine public trust are held accountable. Thank you. With that, I want to turn it over to Deputy Chief Milinovich.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning. And thank you, everybody, for being here this morning. To start, I would like to thank our Fraud Bureau and the leaders of this investigation, some of which are standing behind me. Their work is incredibly complex, time-consuming, and very important to our communities. The announcement we are about to make today demonstrates all three of those characteristics. The investigation that we are updating you on today is dubbed Project Icarus. This investigation and the details surrounding it read like a movie script. It was a complex fraud and forgery investigation involving allegations against a former commercial airline pilot. It was initiated after a regulatory review by Transport Canada into the licensing requirements and credentials of a commercial airline pilot who was working for the victim, Air Canada. This pilot had a 27-year career, and we are alleging that since 2009 has been flying for years, misrepresenting himself and his credentials to his employer and regulatory officials using fraudulent licensing documents. Having worked for Air Canada since the onset of his career, they rose to the position of pilot in command, where for almost 17 years, they flew Boeing 767s, 777s, and 787s. During that time, he captained over 900 domestic flights. Not just domestic, but international as well. Earning millions of dollars in salary for those captaining flights, but also flew tens of thousands of passengers during that time period. Our investigation has led us to believe that this was all done without the appropriate licensing. More specifically, without an airline transport pilot license, which is a requirement to fly passengers. Instead, we believe the accused misrepresented his qualifications to both his employer and the regulator. We also believe that he attempted to conceal the fact that he'd done that through false police report. Credentials exist for a reason. As you heard from the chair, one person bypassing those credentials leads to consequences which undermines and introduces risks and impacts to our community, but also the integrity of a profession and professional systems that depend on verification and oversight. People believe that credentials mean something, and when one person circumvents that, it casts an unfair shadow on an entire profession and professionals who represent themselves with pride and professionalism. Our role is to protect that trust for our community, protect regulations, and ensure that when misconduct occurs, criminal misconduct occurs, we hold the people responsible for it accountable and represent the people that are victimized by it. I would like to thank our partners, Transport Canada, the RCMP for their assistance in examination of fraudulent documents, and again, all of the investigators that are standing behind me today that are the barrier between people who would look to victimize systems and our community and holding them accountable. I will now turn it over to Detective Sergeant Mitchell, who will share more details of the investigation. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Chief, for the introduction, and good morning. Project Icarus was initiated in late January 2026, subsequent to Transport Canada contacting the Fraud Bureau of Peel Regional Police with respect to a regulatory investigation it had completed into the conduct of an Air Canada captain. The police investigation focused on the career of the accused from its onset in 1998 to its completion in 2025. The accused flew initially as a first officer with Air Canada, and in 2009 was promoted to the rank of captain. As captain, the accused was considered a pilot in command and was ultimately responsible for aircraft operation and safety during flight. He captained aircraft including the Boeing 767, 787, and 777, both domestically and internationally, and was compensated in alignment with that rank. The catalyst event leading to the investigation occurred in March 2025 at Terminal 1 of Pearson International Airport during a routine operational evaluation of the accused's credentials and performance. Anomalies were detected within the pilot license documentation he presented. The Transport Canada regulatory investigation later commenced, concluded, and was followed by this criminal investigation. The police investigation included a residential search warrant executed in Barrie, Ontario in February 2026. That was followed by other judicial authorizations, witness interviews, and subject matter expert input, including a forensic analysis conducted by our policing partners, the RCMP's National Anti-Counterfeiting Bureau in Ottawa. The investigation garnered evidence in support of allegations that indicate the accused operated as a pilot in command, a captain, of aircraft between 2009 and 2025 without having ever possessed an airline transport pilot license, aeroplane, known as an ATPLA. This high-level license is a requirement to operate the type of aircraft the accused flew at the rank of captain. Evidence also supports the allegation that the accused had not completed the associated and necessary Transport Canada examinations required to earn an ATPLA prior to or during his career. This alleged criminal misconduct also included the possession and uttering of materially altered and counterfeit government-issued pilot licenses and documentation. It is also alleged that the accused filed a false report to an area police service in relation to an event found to have not occurred through this investigation with respect to stolen pilot documentation. On June 1st, 2026, the accused, Mr. Jeff Wall of Barrie, Ontario, was arrested at 31 Division of Peel Regional Police. He has undertaken to appear for his first appearance date in Brampton on June 29th in relation to the following 7 criminal code offenses: fraud over $5,000, 2 counts of uttering forged document, 3 counts of possession of counterfeit mark, and public mischief. Thank you. This concludes our summary of the investigation, and I'd like to welcome Mayor Patrick Brown.
Well, Deputy Milovic said it read like a movie script. I think I've seen a movie like this with a similar plot. I want to say, first of all, that Chief Nish has built a flagship police service. And I think the work of the Detective Sergeant, Deputy Chief Milovic speak to the fact no matter how complex the crime is, Peel Police can successfully investigate it. And if you commit a crime in Peel Region, it's not if you will be caught, it is when you will be caught. You cannot engage in crimes against our residents without consequence in Peel Region. And I think this really speaks to the patience, professionalism, attention to detail, and commitment to following the evidence wherever it leads. Today's announcement is a testament to great police work. Peel Regional Police continue to demonstrate why they are recognized as one of Canada's leading police services. Time and time again, they have shown the ability to tackle sophisticated investigations, protect the public, and uphold the rule of law. This investigation sends a clear message: no one is above the law. Whether the criminal activity is recent or has occurred over a long period of time, individuals who break the law should expect to be held accountable. Criminals cannot operate with impunity in our communities. Today's arrest serves as another reminder that professional police work combined with persistence and determination can uncover wrongdoing even when it may appear hidden or difficult to detect. On behalf of the residents in Brampton, and certainly I know Chair Unica has attested on behalf of Peel Region, I want to thank the Peel Regional Police. You know, I have the dual role where I get to serve as Mayor of Brampton, but also on the Peel Police Services Board like Chair Unica, and we see the best of the best with the Peel Regional Police. Fraud undermines trust, damages institutions, and can have serious impacts on people's lives and livelihoods. That's why investigations like this matter. It builds trust in our institutions that these checks and balances work, that you cannot get away with criminal activity. So on behalf of the City of Brampton, I want to thank Peel Regional Police for their continued service and unwavering commitment to public safety. Their work helps keep our communities safe and reinforces the principle that those who violate the law will face consequences for their actions. Thank you to Chief Nish, Deputy Chief Milovic, and everyone involved in this successful investigation.
Thank you, Mayor Brown. At the conclusion of this press conference, we will be issuing a media release that will be outlining the specific charges related to this case. At this time, we're going to open the floor for questions. We ask that you limit your questions to one primary and one follow-up, and that you use the microphones that are provided on either side here. We understand that this announcement may raise questions of an employment and regulatory nature. We ask that your questions this morning are focused on the investigation at hand, and any employment or regulatory questions be directed to the employer or Transport Canada. And we'll open it up for questions now.
Hi, John Woodward from CTV News. I want to know more about this documentation that he had. Did he make it himself? Did he have help making it? And were there people involved in signing it?
There's no indication that other people were involved.
And as for the license itself?
The license were analyzed and determined to be materially altered and counterfeit.
Okay. And in terms of the false report, what was the purpose of this false report? And was it to distract you guys, to throw a red herring into the investigation?
As you know, this is a criminal investigation, and to discuss that in further detail, I'd have to rely on case evidence-based specifics, and it's not appropriate this time to do that.
Sean O'Shea with Global News. To the detective or to the deputy chief, was this accused, was he still in command right up until the time he was arrested, or had he been discharged prior to that?
My understanding is he retired early in 2025, prior to both the regulatory investigation and the criminal investigation.
And from a policing perspective, how do you think somebody could get away with it for so long? You dated this back to 2009. He clearly had been hired. He clearly was working and was licensed to a degree. How could somebody pull it off for 2009, since 2009?
Again, I appreciate your question. As I said, this is a criminal investigation. What I can tell you is this: fraud offenses and fraud-related offenses are predicated on deceit. It's this deceit that sometimes causes these fraud-related offenses to continue for very long periods of time and go undetected.
Thank you.
Maybe just jump in there and compliment a couple of things, not commenting on this particular investigation specifically, but originally to the first question, why would a person initiate false reports? And again, not about this case specifically, but what we find is generally people do that when they're trying to cover their tracks. And so, that would be a strong motivator there. How are people able to get away with fraud for so long? The very foundation of that offense is deceit and trickery. They become very good at it. And so it's not uncommon, as you heard from the detective sergeant, for fraud to continue for years and years and years. But also very similar is eventually it catches up to you. And then that's when we get involved. And we're thankful that we're able to do that in this case.
So, Ali Chiasson from CBC Toronto. Air Canada has said that nobody's life was in danger with something like this, and they also say that the pilot was, he was otherwise fully licensed and trained, and he exceeded, he demonstrated a high level of competency to safety, and yet this additional license is required. Can you give us some insight as to why this additional license is so important?
Happy to do that. And yeah, I did see the statement that was released by Air Canada, and I'm not going to comment on that. But the way that I reconcile it in my own mind in terms of how you can explain this to the layman is this is very similar to a doctor that is licensed to practice family medicine but is doing brain surgery in their office. There's additional requirements and regulations to professional designations that exist for a reason. And so that would be my opinion in this circumstance.
This is Fatima Raza with the Canadian Press. Just a follow-up question to that. Air Canada said that safety was not compromised. Do police investigators have a reason to believe the same, or is there a difference in belief?
I would maybe just repeat my previous answer. Regulations, licensing requirements, they exist for a reason. They exist to keep people safe. And when we breach those, not only when we breach them, but when we misrepresent the qualifications that we have, to me, that's a safety issue. And again, very similar. There are a variety of different medical practitioners that are authorized to practice different types of medicine, but they are authorized and regulated, and they need those requirements in order to do it.
Tarun Kumar from Omni News. So Air Canada claims that they usually check the license twice a year. So how this license have been gone so in so many years unnoticed, and what do you want to say about that?
Again, like I mentioned, fraud is based on deceit. So it did go on for a period of time. Any questions with respect to safety or licensing history, I direct you to either Transport Canada or the employer Air Canada.
You also mentioned about the victims and the witnesses' testimonies in your speech. How did they know that they are the victims, and what did they witness when they testified it?
I can't discuss those details at this time.
Thank you.
Good morning, Steve Ryan, CP24. Nice work, Deputy, by your officers. So he did not have, the allegations are that he did not have an airline transport pilot license. Was he licensed to fly the airplanes that he was flying?
Thank you, Steve. Not as captain.
Can you distinguish the difference there, not as captain or as a co-pilot? Maybe it's not in your...
I would refer you to Transport Canada for those details.
All right, thanks.
Yeah, I'd reiterate what Joe Warmington from the Toronto Sun. Great investigation, important investigation. A quick look at this accused online, it indicates a past time in the Canadian Armed Forces, also teaching at a college in Barrie. And there were pictures of him when you were first put his name up, and they're now being taken down. So obviously they weren't aware at the college of the investigation, but is this investigation ongoing to find out if those licensing, there's also a picture of the accused flying a helicopter as well, and apparently having a license for flying a helicopter. Is there more to come, or is it closed now?
I would expect there's potentially more to come, not necessarily from us, but from other regulatory bodies. You know, it's a concerning issue, and I don't imagine that it ends here. I'm sure there'll be professional repercussions for him as well. And then the other thing I would like to do is maybe just very quickly from, and again, by no stretch of the imagination, experts like have investigated this, but to Steve Ryan's original question. The difference really becomes, my understanding, and please correct me if I'm wrong, is he was licensed to fly, he was a commercial pilot. So he's able to fly certain types of planes with regulations that are attached to that. He was not licensed to fly passengers. Not licensed to fly passengers internationally, you know, on 777, 767s, 787s, and tens of thousands of passengers. So that's where the differentiation becomes between being able to fly without passengers versus flying for a commercial airline.
I just have a quick follow-up. It's important too. Just in the investigation side of it, I missed the very beginning, so maybe you had some of it, but how did you get on this and how did you investigate this? What was the process there?
Transport Canada contacted Peel Regional Police in 2026 to brief us on the findings of its regulatory investigation. Any questions in relation to Transport Canada's regulatory investigation? I would refer you to Transport Canada.
Have you ever had a case like this before?
This is a unique and unusual case.
Yeah, Grant First from the Brampton Guardian and Mississauga News. Just curious, this pilot or just the accused must have operated in other jurisdictions, other airports. Is there any potential of him facing charges in other jurisdictions or federally?
I'm not aware of any investigations outside of this one with respect to his flying airplanes as a captain with Air Canada.
And how did Peel Police become the jurisdiction like that? Was the investigating jurisdiction?
The accused is based out of Pearson International Airport, which is in the city of Mississauga.
Peter Edwards, Toronto Star. So these are federal charges with prison time? Is that what we're looking at?
The regulations that were breached, those are federal jurisdiction. Because the offenses occurred within our jurisdiction, they are local charges. In terms of the time or sentencing, really can't comment on that. That'll be something that is determined through the court process and disposition.
Okay, if there's no more questions, that concludes the press conference for the morning. We thank you all for attending. Thank you.